open up with a prayer. All brothers remove their head coverings. All sisters pray with their heads covered. And we face the east towards Jerusalem, where our temple was and where our temple in Yeshua HaMashiach will return. Elder Mikael, can you go ahead and open this up, please?
Our Father, most holy and true covenant Elohim, Abraham, Meshach, Yaakov, we give you thanks and praise, Father, always, Father Yahweh, because you deserve all glory, Father Yahweh, because you are righteous. We give thanks, Father Yahweh, for you being so mindful of us, Father Yahweh, for allowing us, Father, to be on your holy day, Father Yahweh, to worship you, Father, to hear your word, Father, to hear the nuggets of your treasure, Father Yahweh, to fall upon us, Father Yahweh. Give you thanks and praise, Father Yahweh, and we ask, Father Yahweh, to touch our hearts, Father, soften our hearts, Father. Let us receive the knowledge, your spiritual knowledge of your holy and mighty word, Father Yahweh, that it may change us, Father Yahweh. Because, Father, we need you all the time, Father Yahweh, every second of the day, Father Yahweh. Even when we don't realize, Father, that you're there, we know that you're there, Father. We give you thanks and praise, Father. Heavenly Father, let your words, Father Yahweh, minister unto our hearts, Father Yahweh. And let us be the people that in the service that you want us to be, Father Yahweh. Help us, Father, get rid of the things, Father, that's unpleasing unto you, Father. And we know, Father Yahweh, that when you do your sculptures, Father Yahweh, you have to chip off pieces, Father Yahweh. So we know those pieces sometimes hurt, Father Yahweh, when you chip them off, Father Yahweh. But I pray, Father, Yeshua is my name, Father Yahweh, to have mercy upon us, Father Yahweh, and understanding, Father Yahweh, that we will follow you, Father Yahweh. And just give us some time, Father Yahweh. And Father Yahweh, we ask, Yeshua is my name, Father, continue to bless us, Father Yahweh, as we seek your path, Father Yahweh. We give thanks and praise in Yeshua's holy and mighty name. Amen. Amen.
Folks were going to church.
The Christians.
Yeah, it's Christian. And they just lit that bus up with gunfire.
Really?
Just killed folks. It was crazy.
Wow. Also, in Indonesia, it was cane whipping two men because they were homosexuals.
Mm-hmm.
See, we will not have that in our country. You know, so
it's big on that side. Transvestite, they walking.
Yeah, but in this certain city in Indonesia, they said, no, we ain't having it. So they put them up on the stage in a white outfit and they caned them right there. Caned them. No, we ain't having it. You know, so and they got people, you know, on there talking about you need to speak out against this atrocity. What atrocity?
What atrocity?
I mean, the people said, no, we ain't having this.
You lucky they get dealt with a lot worse.
Look at it, they didn't kill you. You understand? I mean, in Jamaica, they're hanging brothers because the dude was Haitian.
I had a sister tell me that her friend, transvestite or whatever, was given political asylum in the country. Political asylum because of that.
How
saying
crazy
her
is that?
lives are in danger.
How crazy is that? So you're going to go down in history for harboring the rights of a homosexual. I'm not saying to kill them. I'm just saying why we have to put them above us, above our belief, above how everybody else is being treated because of the color of their skin. That's not a race. That's a choice. You don't hear no crackheads coming around saying, oh, well, you got to respect me because I'm a crackhead.
These are people's fetishes. It's not like it produces anything. This is just personal fetish, and you legislate it.
Yeah, and you call it a hater because you speak out against it. Yeah, what life does it produce? What positivity does it produce? Guess what? The highest rate of HIV is homosexuals and blacks. Come on. You're gonna gratify and glorify what the massa slave plantation did to the black man, raping him, buck busting, and hugging so tight.
Shabbat Shalom. My name is Yedan Yashua. My brother Yonatan Yashua. Shabbat Shalom. And the title of today's Shabbat study is Fearless in Faith. Fearless in Faith. Now we know that in perfect love there is no fear. And what this word is, what people like to take out of context a lot is love. You know, they like to say God is love. Well, love is an action. It's not just a feeling. So being fearless in love means that you're not afraid to love somebody. And being afraid to love somebody means that, well, I don't want to, you know, tell them something that they don't want to hear because then they might not love me, or they might lose their friendship. But us as servants, we were given this perfect love. We were not given the spirit of fear and bondage. We were given the spirit of faith and love. And we were given examples and taught how to love and not to have fear and always put love first. But the problem is, again, society defines love in their own context. Whereas the creator of love gave us a definition, said this is how you love, and you should not let the spirit of fear override that faith that you have in that spirit love and that action love. So we're going to examine that. We're going to look at how the spirit of boldness in this word and righteousness we've been given, and understand how we are to not be fearless and how fear holds us back from accomplishing the things that Yah has for us to accomplish as his servants. So we're going to first open up in Bamidbar, Numbers chapter 14. Bamidbar, Numbers chapter 14, and we're going to start this at verse 1.
Bamidbar, Numbers chapter 14 and verse 1. And all the congregation lifted up their voice and cried to the people, and the people wept that night. And all the children of Yasharal murmured against Moshe and against Aaron, and the whole congregation said unto them, if only that we had died in the land of Mitzrayim, or if only we had died in this wilderness. And why has Yahweh brought us unto this land to fall by the sword, that our wives and our children should be a prey? Were it not better for us to return to Mitzrayim?
So this is the cowardness. This is the cowardness when a man is a coward and he's afraid of something. He will try to use his family and his children as an excuse of why he's not going to do the thing that Yahweh wants him to do. Well, you know, you're scaring my children. You're scaring my family. My family's hungry. They're this, that, and the other. Now, these are genuine concerns, but at the end of the day, you've just been freed by miracles. You have just sent 12 people to go into the land and spy the land out. And because you have people that are afraid of the people that are in the land, they're now saying, oh, well, we can't go up against these people because they're too large, they're too big. Well, are they bigger and larger than the Mizrahites? No, they weren't. So why are you afraid now if Yah said this is where you need to go, this is what you need to take, and there's bountiful fruit that Yah has delivered to us in that area? But fear is a natural thing. But we can't allow the flesh to control us. Go ahead.
Then Moshe and Aaron fell, verse 4, and they said to one another, let us make a captain and let us return into Mitzrayim, Egypt. Then Moshe and Aaron fell on their faces before all the assembly of the congregation of the children of Yasharal, and Yeshua the son of Nun, and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, which were of them that searched the land, ripped their clothes.
All right, so Caleb and Yeshua, those were the only two brothers out of the 12 that went to spy the land that actually said, no, this land is good. It has everything we need. It's just like what Yahweh said, and it's been given unto us. Let's go fulfill this prophecy. Let's go take it. We have spied out the land. And now the rest of the brothers that are with them are afraid, and now fear is like a virus, a disease. It will spread. If you have boldness and you have a lack of fear, then people will feel like, well, maybe there's nothing to be afraid of because he's a man just like me. But then when you have this fearful spirit about you, you'll cause the masses to be afraid. So they're renting their clothes, ripping their clothes, letting the public know we disagree. We're not with this. And when you don't say nothing, that's consent. That's silent consent. So you have to set yourself aside and say, no, I'm not with this. Go ahead.
Verse 7. And they spoke unto all the company of the children of Yasharal, saying, the land which we passed through to search it is an exceeding good land. If Yahweh delight in us, then he will bring us into that land and give it to us, a land which flows with milk and honey. Only rebel you not against Yahweh, neither fear you the people of the land, for they are bread for us. Their defense is departed from them, and Yahweh is with us. Fear them not. But all the congregation bade stone them with stones. And the glory of Yahweh appeared in the tabernacle of the congregation before all the children of Yasharal.
So when Yahweh chooses a servant, when he chooses a leader, he's not going to choose a fearful person, somebody who's afraid, or somebody who's just so concerned with their own well-being that they can't be concerned with the well-being of the masses. Because when you are asking the children of Yasharal to do something out of the spirit of faith, when there's some kind of imminent danger, they will have more lack of fear in killing you and trying to stone you than they will to go stone the enemies that Yahweh is saying, go take care of. So you can't be a leader that is afraid for your own safety if you're going to lead other people into a dangerous situation. That's what makes a leader. When a leader walks out, the leader walks in front. The leader goes into a territory that's unknown. He's dangerous. Everybody else sits back and then they follow afterwards. If everybody was going to go at the same time, there would be no need for that leader. So you can't be a leader and be afraid to go in a situation without everybody else going with you. Sometimes you have to show the faith and let Yah get his glory by you stepping forward. And this is what we are doing as a people right now. All the people that are keeping this Shabbat right now, we are stepping forward into dangerous territory. If you look back in history, they were killing folks for keeping the commandments. And now, they're not killing you, but they're firing you for keeping Shabbat, saying, oh, well, you got to come to work or else you're going to get fired. You're being separated from your family. You are missing out on a lot of different things. And that takes leadership. And it takes a fearlessness to go out there and say, we're going to do different than what our forefathers did. And we're going to keep these commandments, and we're going to have faith that no matter what we lose in the interim, we're going to be blessed in the end.
Numbers chapter 14, Bamidbar, chapter 14 and verse 11. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, how long will this people provoke me? And how long will it be ere they believe me for all the signs which I have shown among them? I will smite them with the pestilence and disinherit them, and will make of you a greater nation and mightier than they. And Moshe said unto Yahweh, then the Mitzrites shall hear it, for you brought up this people in your might from among them. And they will tell it to the inhabitants of this land, for they have heard that you, Yahweh, are among this people, that you, Yahweh, are seen face to face, that your cloud stands over them, and that you go before them by day time in a pillar of a cloud, and in a pillar of fire by night.
Now Numbers chapter 14, and we're at verse 15. Numbers, Bamidbar, chapter 14 and verse 15.
Now, if you shall kill all this people as one man, then the nations which have heard the fame of you will speak, saying, because Yahweh was not able to bring this people into the land which he swore unto them, therefore he has slain them in the wilderness. And now, I beseech you, let the power of my Yahweh be great, according as you have spoken, saying, Yahweh is long-suffering and of great mercy, forgiving iniquity and transgression, and by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation.
So, people like to bring up that point, well, you know, you can't suffer for what your father did, and, you know, man can't suffer because of the sins of what somebody else did, this, that, and the other. No, he shouldn't be put to death by judgment because of somebody else. But what you do, we've read several, even in recent classes, occasions where the children suffer because of what the father did, or the ancestors suffer. We looked at the curse of Canaan. Canaan wasn't even around, but he was cursed. So here you see that he's visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation. This is why we are suffering now, is because of the iniquity of our forefathers. And then we make it even worse by finding out this truth and still continuing to do the things that caused us to be in this situation to begin with. Go ahead. We're at Numbers chapter 14 and verse 19.
Pardon, I beseech you, the iniquity of this people, according unto the greatness of your mercy, and as you have forgiven this people from Mitzrayim, even until now. And Yahweh said, I have pardoned according to your word. But as truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of Yahweh, because all those men which have seen my glory and my miracles, which I did in Mitzrayim and in the wilderness, and have tempted me now these 10 times, have not hearkened to my voice. Surely they shall not see the land which I swore unto their fathers, neither shall any of them that provoke me see it. But my servant Caleb, because he had another spirit with him, and has followed me fully, him will I bring into the land whereunto he went, and his seed shall possess it.
All right, so Caleb alone, and obviously Yahshua the son of Nun, those two are the only ones that did not succumb to fear. Did they have the fear seeing these giant Amalekites? Because these were if you look at the word giant, they were the words great in size. They were big, strong people, and had a mass of people. So surely your heart rate is going to speed up a little bit when you see what you have to go through, but you can't allow your flesh to make that decision for you when you have a spiritual task. It was a spiritual task that was before them. So now you're seeing all the men over the age of 20 years old and upward, because they saw the miracles that Yahweh did. They saw what he did to bring them out of the land. They are being cut off for fear. They didn't kill somebody. They didn't go worship another god and say, well, we're going to just go worship Baal now and not worship Yahweh. But what they did was they refused to do the job that Yahweh said out of fear after seeing the power of Yah. So that fear caused them to get exactly what they were fearing, being killed. So you rather be killed by Yahweh than to be killed by man? Fear, that goes with, fear the one that can take your body and your spirit afterwards. Go ahead.
Numbers chapter 14 and verse 25. Now the Amalekites and the Canaanites dwelt in the valley. Tomorrow turn you and get you into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe and unto Aaron, saying, How long shall I bear with this evil congregation which murmur against me? I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel, Yasharal, which they murmur against me. Say unto them, As truly as I live, says Yahweh, as you have spoken in my ears, so will I do to you. Your carcasses shall fall in the wilderness, and all that were numbered of you, according to your whole number from 20 years old and upward, which have murmured against me.
All right, so you're also getting a whole number. So you're also getting a definition of what Yahweh considers as a whole person. When you become 20 years old, you are now considered a whole person. You are accountable for yourself. So with this, America at 18, you sending people to war. No, we don't send 18-year-olds to war. Even physiologically, the brain until about 20 to 21 years old has not completely finished growing. And the portion of it that has not finished completely growing is that reasoning and that spatial and depth perception and understanding how to make proper decisions. That part of the brain has not fully developed yet. So at 20 years old, you are considered a whole person. Go ahead.
Verse 28. Say unto them, As truly as I live, says Yahweh. Oh, this is verse 30. Doubtless you shall not come into the land concerning which I swore to make you dwell therein, save Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, and Yahshua, the son of Nun. But your little ones, which you said should be a prey, them will I bring in, and they shall know the land which you have despised.
So you're not going to blackmail Yah by saying, you got to deal with us because you made covenant with us. You can't get rid of us, because how else is your name going to go on? Because you said this and you said that. Well, Yahweh say, you know what? You said it. You're right. I'll kill you off and I'll bring your children in. Because you're concerned about your children, right? That's your issue, right? You have something, Ellen?
Yeah.
Take it off mute.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Just wanted to add that it said it's power of life and death in the tongue. And these brothers are already made a covenant with Yahweh, and but speaking against these two brothers, they don't realize they were speaking against the will of Yah, because Yah sent them. It's an order. He sent them in there to spy out the land, and he wanted to give them that land. And it showed their hearts. So when they spoke against these two brothers, they spoke against Yahweh, especially in the second verse, talking about with Yahweh commanded so we can die in his wilderness. They don't realize that they sealed their faith because they continually talked about Yahweh and murmured. It didn't change their mentality, it didn't change their heart. We understand you might be a little scared, but you don't realize who you serve. I mean, just like my brother said, they forgot, that Yahweh had saved them from the Israelites. You understand? From Egypt, doing those 10 miracles that no one could do. So he said they had a very short memory. So they spoke against Yahweh, they cursed themselves, and Yahweh made it so. As he said, because of what you did, as my brother just read, that your body gonna live in the desert. And only 2 out of all that, that were men at the time, are gonna have families and go over to Jordan. So these are the things we have to watch. Careful what come out of your mouth, especially a man, because you cannot take it back. You can go and cry, you can go and talk to the Father, you can ask forgiveness, you can repent, but if his will, whether he allowed you to have that pass, if not, you got to deal with that. But you can, as a covering, of Yaisha, you can disannul what she says if you hear it in that day before the sun go down. So our brothers and sisters, we have to understand this. We have to be careful what comes out of our mouth. We might want to say these things, because if we're in fear, or we're in anger, or excited, or provoked, or whatever it is. But we have to learn. It's not weakness to keep your mouth shut, and think about what you're going to say. And we all have to work on these things, myself included. We're too quick to speak foolishness. So let's take a point out this page, and realize that Yahweh's trying to take care of this, and stop with our mouths and think with our hearts, think with Yahweh, think out with our spirits, so we won't get ourselves in trouble.
Brother, to follow up on that too, it's like a twofold thing. It's like a twofold thing concerning, last Bible study, we went over some of the scriptures and we're like, would we be able to handle it had we been in, these types of situations? Mm-hmm. And when you realize, your personality and how we behave concerning regular worldly things, and then how we would behave when the scripture comes to life, when it's like Yah is speaking, are we going to listen or not? And a lot of us would have acted just as rebelliously as Israel had done, because as soon as we approach just a tiny level of uncomfortability, we ready to
throw all the commandments
to the side, rebelling against everything, lashing out at folk. So we have to think and wonder, because first of all, you don't want to obey something that's wrong. You don't want to obey something that's false. But at the same time, when Yah speaks, we have to be quick to listen. So that's a lot of that is going to have to mean that we have to learn to draw back our impulsive nature and learn how to be more discerning of righteousness, meaning quieting ourselves and being humble. And once we practice that, we never know when we'll be put in a situation where Yah has spoke certain things, whether it be through a servant, where we only see the servant, but we don't know that Yah's angel is by that servant. We don't know that this is actually a decree concerning prophecy. And if you're in the way, you're gonna, bear the consequence of it. So it's good to practice now, so that when the time comes, we know how to be obedient and follow righteousness when we hear it, and we won't stand in the way, just like a whole tribe of people did in the scripture we read in.
Right, and it's difficult to know, when somebody's telling you something, is Yah saying this or is the man saying this? And Yah will hold you to a certain accountability. But at the end of the day, he gave you commandments. Mm-hmm. That's enough. If you stick with the commandments, the thing that somebody says is going to align with that, and time is going to show. Sometimes when we're in situations and you have somebody who's in leadership or somebody that's, we consider a very spiritual person, and they say something, you can't just take off and trust man and run with it. You gotta, like you said, sometimes you gotta sit back, you gotta pause, you gotta not be a respecter of person, whether it's somebody that's in a leader position or somebody that's the quietest person in the room. And you got to consider that against the commandments. Is it lawful or unlawful? And if it's unlawful, right then and there, that pretty much makes the decision. If it's lawful, that's when you have to really think about something. Because how do you know that Yah has ordained for this to be? And sometimes you got to trust the Spirit and learn with the Spirit and say, well, is it more difficult for me to do this? Or is it more easy for me to do this? If it's easier for me to do something, then you need to tarry even longer. If it's difficult for me to do something, then you know naturally the spirit and the body is going to want to not do it because it's going to make you uncomfortable. But is it going to make you more perfect? We often talk about, well, you need to be better at this, you need to be better at this. Did you keep all the commandments? And then we get to a point, well, I'm keeping the commandments, I'm doing that. And then we might get in a puffed up attitude, but then all you have to do is remember that statement that Yahshua said to what do I need to do to enter into the kingdom of heaven? And he said, keep all the commandments. Oh, well, I've been doing it since I got baptized. I've been keeping the commandments. I've been repented when I was wrong. Sell all your stuff and come follow me. That should keep you humble. That should keep you humble that there's always more that you have to do. And concerning this whole fear situation, if we saw him part a Red Sea and you still fearful, ain't nothing going to change that. Nothing. That's why y'all's like 20 years old dead. Because if this didn't put some kind of faith in you, nothing's going to. If you say that you truly believe that Yahshua HaMashiach rose from the dead, and that's not enough for you, ain't nothing going to change you. And that's why we have to make sure that we have our faith in this works, because that's the final stop. That's it. If that's not enough for you, there's nothing else for you. Go ahead.
Verse 31. But your little ones, which you said should be a prey, them will I bring in, and they shall know the land which you have despised. Numbers 14, chapter 32. Numbers chapter 14, verse 32. But as for you, your carcasses, they shall fall in this wilderness, and your children shall wander and in the wilderness 40 years, and bear your whoredoms until your carcasses be wasted in the wilderness.
And that's just what Moshe said, that, to the third and fourth generation for your transgressions, where they supposed to take a 30-day, 40-day journey. Now it's 40 years because of you, because of your hardness. Go ahead.
After the number of the days which you searched the land, even 40 days, each day for a year, shall you bear your iniquities, even 40 years, and you shall know my breach of promise. I, Yahweh, have said, I will surely do it unto all this evil generation that are gathered together against me. In this wilderness they shall be consumed, and there they shall die. And the men which Moshe sent to search the land, who returned and made all the congregation to murmur against him by bringing up a slander upon the land, even those men that did bring up the evil report upon the land, died by the plague before Yahweh. But Yahshua the son of Nun, and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, which were of the men that went to search the land, and lived still. And Moshe told these sayings unto the children of Yasharal, and the people mourned greatly. And they rose up early in the morning, and gathered them up into the top of a mountain, saying, Lo, we be here, and we'll go up unto the place which Yahweh has promised, for we have sinned. And Moshe said, Why now do you transgress the commandment of Yahweh? But it shall not prosper. Go not up, for Yahweh is not among you, that you be not smitten before your enemies.
So, again, they can't follow instructions. When he told you to go up, you didn't want to go up. You did what you wanted to do. Now he's telling you don't go up, Well, you're going to force your way up, trying to reverse what has already been done. You even showing in that, you're still not going to follow instructions. Go ahead.
And you know, brother, in verse 25, Yahweh told him what to do. He said, tomorrow turn and get you into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea. Call it a day. Nah, they're going to go and fight. That wasn't what he commanded them to do.
Nope.
Verse 43. For the Amalekites and the Canaanites are before you, and you shall fall by the sword, because you are turned away from Yahweh. Therefore Yahweh will not be with you. But they presumed to go up unto the hilltop. Nevertheless, the ark of the covenant of Yahweh and Moshe departed not out of the camp. And the Amalekites came down, and the Canaanites which dwelt in the hill, and smote them, and discomfited them, even unto Hormah.
So this is very similar to when judgment is coming. Everybody want to, oh, let us in the ark now. We listen. No, when Yahweh says this time to go do something, that's keeping the commandment, is doing it when he says to do it, not when you feel like doing it. So the same thing is going to happen when Yahshua returns. And now all of a sudden everybody sees a Mashiach with melanin who's came and say, yeah, I did say keep the commandments. Now everybody want to start keeping the commandments. You are on pure mercy at that point. Pure 100% mercy. So the time to start doing things is when he says it. It's not the fact that you just did something, just like holy days. Just because you kept a day for Yahweh, that don't mean nothing to him. If he told you, no, keep the 7th day, and you keep the 1st day, that don't count for you because you kept it. Well, I did it. No, you'll get killed in that the same way. Same thing with these holy days. Well, we celebrated you on Halloween. We called it Hallelujah night. No, but you didn't keep his Shabbat. You didn't keep his Shabuah. You didn't keep his Pentecost. We didn't do the things that was important to him when he wanted to do it. So basically, you the king. You the mighty one, because you do things when you're ready to do it. Right. Try showing up to your job like that. You got to be to work at 8 o'clock and you say, you know what, I'm coming on Tuesday at 1. See if you still have a job. No, we won't do that because we want that check. We need that for the club Friday night. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 1. Jeremiah chapter 1. Because when you're a servant, he can't operate. Imagine if you're a sword. He said, you are my battle axe. Israel, you are my battle axe. I'm going to crush nations and kingdoms. I'm going to do that. But the axe is afraid to cut. You trying to swing the axe and the axe like, no. I might chip. It's real sharp. I don't want to chip my edge. No. That iron might be too hard. I don't want to. The iron fighting. You trying to chop. You can't go to war like that. That thing got to be ready to cut and chop and do exactly what the person that's swinging it is wielding it to do. So you can't come in this faith claiming to be a servant of Yah, a witness of Yah, and you're afraid to speak out against people wickedness, or afraid to look in the mirror and say, man, that's wicked what you doing. You can't be afraid to do that. There's no place for that fear. And if you do have that fear, which we all going to have the fear, you can't act on it. Be real with it. Be honest with yourself. I'm afraid. I'm afraid to keep these commandments. I'm afraid to lose my friends. I'm afraid to lose my family member. I'm afraid that my life is going to be more horrible. And be honest with yourself. And now you can do something about it. Now you know what to pray for. Give me the strength. Which you saw often with people that had to do mighty things for our nation. Even Yehudith. She said, Elohim be with me. Before she chopped off the head of that captain. So there's nothing wrong with having the fear. The problem is when you allow that fear to rule you over the spirit of love and the spirit of obedience to the Father. Jeremiah chapter 1. Jeremiah chapter 1. And we're going to start that at verse 1.
Jeremiah chapter 1 and verse 1. The words of Jeremiah, the son of Hilkiah, of the priests that were in Anathoth, in the land of Benjamin, to whom the word of Yahweh came in the days of Josiah the son of Ammon, king of Yehudah, in the 13th year of his reign. It came also in the days of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Yehuda, unto the end of the 11th year of Zedekiah, the son of Josiah, king of Yehuda, unto the carrying away of Jerusalem captive in the 5th month. Then the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Before I formed you in the belly, I knew you, and before you came forth out of the womb, I sanctified you, and I ordained you a prophet unto the nations. Then said I, Ah, my sovereign Yahweh, behold, I cannot speak, for I am a child.
So from before he formed him in the belly, he knew him. Before you came out the womb, he already sanctified and ordained him to be a prophet unto the nations. So there's nothing that's by happen chance going on in your life. If he picked us as a nation, that means each of us has a role and a responsibility and a job. You're not going to change that. But what you can do is add some more uncomfortability in your life and more problems. Go ahead.
Verse 7. But Yahweh said unto me, Say not, I am a child, for you shall go to all that I send you, and whatsoever I command you, you shall speak. Be not afraid of their faces, for I am with you to deliver you, says Yahweh.
And this is what he told the children of Yasharal. The prophet is representing the whole nation. I gave you words. I formed you from your belly. I gave you this to speak, not to keep it to yourself. For you to tell your people this. For you to be a witness to the nations. What is that, Isaiah 42? All this has been given to you as a nation. And within that nation, we have our own responsibility and levels that we're supposed to be doing in areas and responsibilities. But this is basically what he told the children of Yasharal. Go ahead.
Verse 9. Then Yahweh put forth his hand and touched my mouth. And Yahweh said unto me, Behold, I have put my words in your mouth. See, I have this day set you over the nations and over the kingdoms to root out and to pull down and to destroy and to throw down, to build and to plant.
And that's what Yah's word is going to do. When you speak his word, depending on the vessel, depending on the soil that it falls in, whether it's that rocky soil or that seed by the wayside, or whether it's in that thorns, or whether it's in that good soil, it's either going to root out, pull down, destroy, throw down, build, or plant. You don't make that decision. That's not your job. You speak the word, you plant the seed, and it's going to do what it's going to do. Go ahead.
Verse 11. Moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Jeremiah, what see you? And I said, I see a rod of an almond tree. Then said Yahweh unto me, You have well seen, for I will hasten my word to perform it. And the word of Yahweh came unto me the second time, saying, What see you? And I said, I see a seething pot, and the face thereof is toward the north. Then Yahweh said unto me, Out of the north an evil shall break forth upon all the inhabitants of the land. For lo, I will call all the families of the kingdoms of the north, says Yahweh, and they shall come, and they shall set every one his throne at the entering of the gates of Jerusalem, and against all the walls thereof round about, and against all the cities of Yehuda. And I will utter my judgments against them, touching all their wickedness, who have forsaken me, and have burnt incense unto other gods, and worshipped the work of their own hands. You therefore gird up your loins, arise and speak unto them all that I command you, and be not dismayed at their faces, lest I confound you before them. For behold, I have made you this day a defense city, and an iron pillar, and brazen walls against the whole land, against the kings of Yehuda, against the princes thereof, against the priests thereof, and against the people of the land. And they shall fight against you, but they shall not prevail against you, for I am with you, says Yahweh, to deliver you.
So these words will be put into your mouth, but it's how you deliver these words. If you're delivering these words out of a spirit of fear, he's going to use those same words to confound you. The same things that you're speaking, if you don't have the faith in what you're saying, you don't truly believe in what you're saying, people are going to take your own words and twist them against you and destroy you with it. And the only way you're going to have faith in something is to believe and to study it and to understand it and to live it, not to just read it. You don't have faith in something when you just read something. I just read it. No, when you put it into action. Just perfect example, Egg Bail Goo. when we studying all this stuff and we doing it in practice and all that, that's all well and nice. But when that fist come at your face and you slip it, then you start to have faith. Oh, okay, I can slip. I can move. I get it. You start to have faith in that. But if you don't put these things into practice, it's just going to be, well, when somebody throws a punch, you're going to move to the outside so you don't get hit. If you don't put it in practice, you're going to get punched right in your face, dead in your nose. Let's move. Let's go on to Lucas chapter 12. Luke chapter 12. Don't be afraid of their faces, because that's what people do. When you try to speak that word and you try to rebuke somebody out of love, and you have a very soft and humble face when you're talking to them, they mean mug you to make you not want to say what you want to say. You can't be afraid of their faces, because if you love that person, then you understand if they don't repent, you understand what's the end of that matter. And just consider that person like it was your baby daughter or your little brother. Would you just say something and just walk off? I don't care. Or would you have concern and say, you know what, I'm willing to step out a little bit on the ledge for this person because I love that person? Well, that's your brother or your sister. And you don't know what part that brother or sister plays in our nation at a later date. And those of us that have lived a little bit longer, you start to see people start to identify a place that they play in your life that you would have never thought when you just met them many years ago.
Brother, what that reminds me of is the scripture where Yahshua says, he that hates not his mother or his father is not worthy of me. And then he mentioned other family members, so people who are usually close to whose opinion we usually yield to. But in this time where we've seen that people are living in rebellion and we want to be obedient, we have to know what it means to separate and uncleave them from our souls, so that we can cleave to Yahshua and have the proper love for them and put them in the appropriate place, so that when it does come time for us to correct them, we don't, draw back and hinder or say it in an angry way or say it because we're just like lashing out because we feel like bound because we love them. But when we learn to separate and we can cleave to the Mashiach, cleave to Yah, cleave to that spirit, and then come to them, not in a way that's hurtful or anything like that, or in a way where we're trying to rebel against whatever role they have in our lives. But we can just say it like, look, because I love the Most High, I'm saying this to you, that this is not good. Your brother or your family member that's still out going around whoring, you say, look, living that type of lifestyle is not going to help you in the long run. Of course you're going to be offended, but your trust is with the Most High. So you know how to remove, so there's no fear there. Of course, there'll probably be apprehension from the little bits of remnants that you have that loves them. But at the end of the day, who that doesn't love the Mashiach or love Yah more than the people that's on the earth. It's not worthy.
Right. You have something else?
I'm glad my brother brought that up, because even the Most High had coached his servant Moshe. As we went over just a while ago, that Yahweh was going to put his words in our mouth. In Jeremiah, when Rachel was trying to get out of it, he said, my speech is like that good. But who else said that? Moshe said that, that he couldn't speak well, hitherto and all this kind of stuff he was speaking. But yet, Yahweh already knew. It's just he told Jeremiah, I knew you before you was in the womb. Same for his servant Moshe. He knew him before he was in the womb. He knew what he was going to do. He knew what he was going to say. So he helped coax him to understand, I put my words in your mouth. Don't worry about that. Plus, I already have your brother coming. Now, there was no mail service back then. You could say, like, you made a phone call and said, oh yeah, brother, come on up here, I'm in Midian, No, Yahweh already called his brother to come up there, to assist Moshe in doing Yahweh's will. So he coaxed him to understand, well, look, I'm going to make you strong. All you got to do what I tell you, and your brother will be your mouthpiece. And in this sense, he told him, no, be strong. I am going to put my words in your mouth, and people are going to fight against you. But he's going to be there to take care of you.
Right.
So he's showing the faith that our brother didn't realize he could have. Our brother don't know he can have the faith that Yahweh telling him he can have, until Yahweh put it in his heart to let him understand. No, don't fear them. I am with you. But it takes a minute for us to understand these things. ourselves. That's what my brother said. You look in the mirror. You really don't know that person in that mirror, but Yahweh knows. So we have to know how to rely on God and trust in His word. Then our faith is created in us. So, I'm glad you mentioned it, brother.
And if you notice anything from studying history with these scriptures, Yah is constantly putting people in a position to do the works that you're going to have to hear His words. He's not picking, the wisest elder. He could have picked Gamaliel, one of the most profound scribes to come out there and speak. He could have picked, Saul, the tallest king, the most warrior-looking king to come out there and speak and be right. No, he picked Jeremiah, a young man. Now it says a child. If you look at that Hebrew word, there's a wide range for that. A young man, under 20 years of age, to go out there where, the elders will be like, man, little boy, if you don't get from around me, and the elder going to look at you, first of all, you out of order coming to speak to me. And he's telling them, don't be afraid, because the words that are coming out of your mouth are ancient, are timeless. If they can't hear that, then it doesn't matter, because I don't want them to idolize somebody. That's why I'm not picking all these people that, have these great backgrounds and this, that, and the other. Even with somebody who was highly educated like Saul, he picked somebody that was against them, so that you're going to have to really listen to the word. So this is why it goes right back to what you're saying, not being a respecter of persons and listening when people say certain things, because you don't know. He's testing you to say, okay, you've been so far. Mm-hmm. You've studied this much. You have come to this point. You have this much faith, and let's test this faith. I'm going to send this little child to come speak to you. I'm going to send the guy that acts a fool to come speak to you. And I'm going to put wise words in his mouth, and we'll see if you're going to cut him off before he finishes.
Yeshua, the 12-year-old in the synagogue, he spoke. He threw him out on his head. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Brother, what do you think that's a test of when Yah uses something despised to show His glory? Like what does it say about the people that usually reject when they don't like the vessel that something comes through?
It's lack of humility. It's a lack of humility when you are not at least allowing the statement to be put out, because we have to judge a matter diligently. Every matter has to be judged diligently. And that's often a lot of our problems. We like to be prophets in conversation. I already know what you're going to say. I already know where you're going. And a lot of it is us being afraid that we're going to forget what we are trying to say. So we jump out quick to go into conversation. And I know that's a big part of my fault. I have certain things in my mind in a conversation and want to say it, and I'm afraid that I'm going to forget it. Well, if it's of the Spirit, you ain't going to forget nothing. It's going to come out when it need to come out. So when Yah will use a despised vessel like He did with the Mashiach, He didn't bring the most handsome looking person. He brought somebody that men are not going to yield to and say, oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And He's testing the nation. Are you going to hear His word? But we weren't studying His word. We were just wanting to be in the graces of the Pharisees so we could be, a comfortable life.
Because even at a basic level, I'm thinking about when Yah has something important He want to say, mm-hmm. and then He just put it in somebody that's going to be easily ignored, and on your regular, conscience and cognitive, you're looking at it and you're like, why would you do that? Why don't you go to give the message to somebody that the people respect, that they're gonna hear? Like, why are you choosing? And I'm thinking about it, and I can't figure it out, because it's like, if the original intent is for them to hear and repent, why not put it in somebody that they're gonna listen to? But you're putting it in people that they're gonna ignore, and it's like, why do you think
Yahshua speaks in parables?
Because he doesn't really care.
Because it's not given to everybody to know. It's given to you to know. So when He speaks in that manner, if He wanted everybody to know, then He would put that person up there. I want the whole world to know it. Mm-hmm. But no, He's calling out His remnant. He's calling out the remnant and letting them prove to themselves that there's
certain spirits He wants to get
to prove to themselves. He already know who's chosen. Mm-hmm. Many are called. Many were called. That's why He said that by that person that's being despised. lot of people heard it, but the few are chosen. And Yah knows who is going to hear those things, and the Spirit is going to know, because you got to understand when you don't see something or you don't hear something, that means there's something like this and something like this on you. Mm-hmm. You're not in control of that. The angel's in control of that. So when that happens, and he removes this and this, and you decide to go like this and this, he already knew you were going to. You just identifying that to yourself. And many of us have been through that situation and realized, man, I was just like this the whole time. And that's your first time actually seeing yourself. Oh, I didn't want to listen because he wasn't an elder. Mm-hmm. And you take that L so that later on, the important one, you don't lose that L. But that's just one little layer of that whole understanding. Yeah. You wanted to add to that, Elder?
Yeah. Just wanted to say that you mentioned earlier, about, why does God use those people, to do his will, I mean, think about it. You heard State talked about before, and I'm not going to use it, but I'm not going to use these grandiose people that always has a background already, who's established themselves. No, I'm going to use the people that you don't ever think will give me glory. And that's how I'm going to get my glory. If you look at these brothers and sisters that have been in scripture, like, what was his name? Gideon. I mean, Gideon didn't want to do what Yahweh told him to do, but yet he said, no, I'm going to use you. And I want you to get those gentlemen that lap up the water with, don't scoop the water with their hands, they lap it like a dog, because everybody looks at those people are ignorant. You understand? What's wrong with people? They got no sense. They're animalistic. How you gonna get glory out of them? It's Yahweh got his glory. Because it's not you. It's the spirit that he puts in you. It's the spirit that he has around you. By your obedience is when it's going to happen. You see? But if you, grandiose, people will say, well, I can't believe that's Yahweh's power, Yahweh's spirit. You understand? Because they're already powerful.
Right. Right.
I mean, they're already strong. They can lift 300, 400 pounds. I can understand that. They're strong already. How that weakling over there gonna do this great feat? Because Yahweh's spirit is upon that person. So that's how Yahweh gets his glory. So if you're looking at somebody who you know to be a fool or foolish, but yet the words that's coming out of his mouth is pure spirit of Yah, you can't turn away from it because that word is pure. You see? Just like if you think about Yeshua at 12 years old teaching in the synagogue. That's out of order. But yet, they never threw him out of his hand because what would come out of his mouth? Pure power of his Father. Pure power of the word. Pure truth of the word. Mm-hmm. They could not throw this boy out. They was marveling at the words coming out of his mouth because that was Yahweh's son, Yahweh's word. You see? So that's how we have to think about this. Yahweh uses who he wills to get his glory.
Mm-hmm. So it's like a twofold attack. It's an attack of the word and admonishment at the same time. He's like forcing everyone, humble yourself to such and such and such and such.
Yeah,
right. And not to have any of his glory be given away, because we have a tendency to idolize. And when we idolize somebody, you put that person in a dangerous situation, because for one, they may have no intentions of being idolized, but you don't know what they struggle with inside, and they just take a little bit of that glory. That's enough to taint that. And y'all was like, new vessel, got to get a new vessel now, because now people starting to idolize and he believe in it. Because if he don't do that, you got folks walking around here talking about, I'm the Mashiach. In the nation of Yasharal, married unto me. And these people were good examples at some point. The one in Miami and the one up here were good examples, helping a lot of people. But as soon as you step over that line, and it's difficult. And in both of those situations, well, at least one of them, I knew people that were there in the beginning say it wasn't like that. They weren't like that until something happened. Eventually, people keep telling you something after a while. You start to believe it. So this is why Yah's like, look, we already know our people have a propensity to do that. We're going to use these people. That way, the people that need to hear this are going to hear it. Because why do I want to keep giving my stuff to somebody for them to keep rejecting me? How painful is that? I'm trying to give you life. I'm trying to bless you. I'm trying to give you all this good land. And your own fear is causing me to not give you what I want to give you. And that's what we do in our own lives, because he's like, I'm trying to bless you. I'm trying to give you all this. But you're going to have to take a little bit of suffering to get it. But you're so afraid that you're going to suffer for the rest of your life that you won't do the thing that needs to happen for me to get my glory so you can receive your gift. And that's the story of Yasharal from beginning to end.
Brother, there's a small excerpt that goes in line with the precept that we were pretty much talking. It's 1 Corinthians chapter 1 and 25 to 29. It says, because the foolishness of Yahweh is wiser than men, and the weakness of Yahweh is stronger than men. For you see your calling, brethren, how that not many wise after the flesh, not many mighty, not many noble are called. But Yahweh has chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. And Yahweh has chosen the weak things of the, so he wants them confounded. He has chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty. And base things of the world and things which are despised has Yahweh chosen, yea, and things which are not, to bring to nothing things that are, that no flesh should glory in his presence.
Right.
I knew what it was. That's what I was talking about.
And that's not just for the people, it's also for that person that's strong and that person that's wise, for they can be humbled. You know, I thought that I was just, smartest person in the world. I really thought I was really, knew it all, that I had the whole world figured out. And you have to get confounded. And then you realize, man, I'm really nothing. And at that point, you can start to actually be something and receive something and learn something and know something, because you realize, man, you're not that smart. Yeah, you're smart worldly, but what is that mounted to? And you stop chasing that worldly success that you perceive is going to come from just being book smart or receiving accolades. And not that you shouldn't achieve those things, but it has to be in his order. Because if those things aren't giving glory unto Yah, then it's just a waste. It's vanity. It's just for you. And all these accolades, Yah should get some kind of glory out of it, because it should benefit him in some kind of way. And as a youth, we don't understand that. It's all about what I did, and my degree, and my job, and my accomplishments, and Instagram flexing, and Facebook, and you see you, girl that dumped me in the 5th grade, you see what I become now? And it's all that type of stuff, instead of all praises to the Most High. Look what I can do. All things can be done through Christ. So let's go to Luke chapter 12, and let's start this at verse 1.
In the meantime, when they were gathered together an innumerable multitude of people, insomuch that they trode one upon another, he began to say unto his disciples, first of all, beware you of the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy.
So when somebody says that you're being a Pharisee, you got to clarify, are you saying that I'm being a hypocrite? If you're saying that I'm being a hypocrite, then I got to seriously look at myself every time you say that. Or are you saying I'm being a Pharisee because I'm keeping the commandments, or I'm telling you to keep the commandments? Clarify. Have them clarify that. Go ahead.
For there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, neither hid that shall not be known. Therefore, whatsoever you have spoken in darkness shall be heard in the light, and that which you have spoken in the air in closets shall be proclaimed upon housetops. And I say unto you, my friends, be not afraid of them that kill the body, and after that have no more that they can do. But I will forewarn you whom you shall fear. Fear him which after he has killed has power to cast into hell. Yea, I say unto you, fear him.
All right, so at the end of the day, Yah's will is going to be done. If you are going to be put in a situation where your life is going to be taken, there's nothing you can do about it. So in that process of a situation where you feel like your life is in danger, that is the time you want to stick to the commandments the most. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to die, you want to die keeping these commandments. If you want to be delivered, if you want to feel safe in being delivered, trust in those commandments to pull you up out that situation. That don't mean you sit there and let somebody kill you and you be like, well, I'm going to honor the Sabbath day. No. What that means is you try to remain lawful and you try to do the right thing in every situation. If you got to defend yourself, nothing in this law says let somebody kill you. But at the end of the day, trust in Yah. You're in that situation for a reason. You didn't have to be in that situation. Now, if you did that to yourself, that's a whole nother story. Go ahead.
Verse 6. Are not 5 sparrows sold for 2 farthings, and not one of them is forgotten before Elohim? But even the very hairs of your head are all numbered. Fear not, therefore, you are of many more value than many sparrows.
So if you're valuable to the Most High, especially being the children of Yasharal, then you understand that these situations that you're in are for a reason. It has to benefit the nation of Yasharal. Go ahead.
Also I say unto you, whosoever shall confess me before men, him shall the Son of Man also confess before the angels of Elohim. But he that denies me before men shall be denied before the angels of Elohim.
So how do you confess him before men?
That he is our redemption. And by your behaviors as well, to do the things that he told us to do.
Bingo. You can tell, Christians will say that all day long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Christ is the Son of, he died for our sins. But then you're not following what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are some Christians that are doing their best from what their level of understanding to follow. They confessing him. They might not be at the level of somebody who has an understanding of who they are and what other areas they need to repent. But if that's as far as they've got and they've repented of everything that they understand, then they're confessing him.
Mm-hmm.
They're working with what they have. So that's confessing him. Denying him is when you say, I know to do good and I'm not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because his death means nothing. I can do whatever I want. That's denying him. Or on a worse level, you deny him saying that your righteousness is of you. Your righteousness came straight from Yah. You don't need the word. Straight from Yah. That's denying him. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Go ahead, Elder.
Just to add to that, brother, just 2 lines. Some of that, do you love your business? Yeshua and John, chapter 14, we went over this once before. He said, if you love me, keep my commandments.
Right.
That's clear. And then on the next page, John 15:14, or you are my friends if you do whatever so I command. And he basically was telling you, he's commanding you to keep his father's commandments.
Right.
And if you do that, then he's telling him that, okay, I do love you because I am doing what you asked me to do. I am trying to follow Yahweh's commandments. I am trying to change, because if you are trying to follow commandments, then you're trying to look at yourself and you're trying to change, to be more appeasing to the Father, to do his will. So it's just a twofold thing, bro.
Right. And what you're confessing when you're keeping these commandments and you understand where your life from, the spirit of life, comes from the firstborn that was with Elohim in the beginning and was Elohim, you're confessing to men that just as Yahshua kept the commandments and he died and he rose again, I'm going to do the same thing. I keep his commandments. I have faith. I believe that same power of life that raised him from the dead will also happen for me. And I'm confessing that before man because I'm keeping these commandments. Because I don't have to do that. I got free will. I can do what I want to do. And this is confessing him before man. And when you're denying him before men, you're saying that I don't believe that I have to do what Yahshua did to receive life. I can just do what I want to do and I'm going to receive life. I'm denying that whole word. It's not necessary because I'm special. I'm special. I'm going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Brother, that goes and picks up now, giving more of a complete picture of what we were talking about why Yah would use despised vessels. Because for here it's saying, 2 sparrows sold for a farthing, but they're not forgotten before Elohim. Then verse 7, it says, the very hairs of your head are numbered. Fear not, you're worth more than many sparrows. So he's saying, although we may despise something, it's not despised in his sight. And though we may lowly esteem something, it's not necessarily despised in his sight. So we definitely have to look about how we judge certain things before we be confounded before Elohim.
Good point.
Verse 9, Luke chapter 12 and verse 9. But he that denies me before men shall be denied before the angels of Elohim. And whosoever shall speak a word against the Son of Man, it shall be forgiven him. But unto him that blasphemes the Holy Spirit, it shall not be forgiven. And when they bring you unto the synagogues and unto magistrates and powers, take you no thought how or what thing you shall answer, or what you shall say. For the Holy Spirit, the Ruach Kodesh, shall teach you in the same hour what you ought to say.
So if the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of truth, is going to tell you what you need to say in that hour when people are coming against you, then that should ease your spirit. It should remove that whole fear of how am I going to defend myself? What's going to happen? Because the truth cannot be beat. But see, we fear the suffering aspect of it, that we're going to suffer for righteousness' sake. We need that on our account. So at the end of the day, understand that when you are going to handle a spiritual matter for Yahweh, now you brought up before the magistrate because you done stole something, or you done lied, or you done did something wrong, then yeah, you need to worry. But when you are brought up for righteousness' sake, it's time to let go and let the Spirit do what it do. Go ahead.
Verse 13. And one of the company said unto him, Master, speak to my brother that he divide the inheritance with me. And he said unto him, Man, who made me a judge or a divider over you? And he said unto them, Take heed and beware of covetousness, for a man's life consists not in the abundance of things which he possesses. And he spoke a parable unto them, saying, The ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, What shall I do? Because I have no room where to bestow my fruits. And he said, This will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater, and there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods.
All right, so you see different things going on here. Part of it is, well, I want to store more stuff. I want to keep up more things. Part of that could be for covetousness, but also part of it is fear. Well, what if I run out? What if something happens? What if somebody steals from me and then, I don't have any more and I'm going to have to be poor like everybody else? That's fear. But when you have faith, you're not worried about that. Listen, I need to give this to feed other people because y'all going to take care of me. He's shown me he's going to take care of me. He's taking care of me so much that I became rich. So what am I fearing? So there's a spirit of fear. It's not always just covetousness involved in there. A lot of times people are just fearful. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Verse 20.
No, verse 19.
Verse 19. And I will say to my soul, Soul, you have much goods laid up for many years. Take your ease, eat, drink, and be merry.
So take your ease. Don't worry, because you got many goods for many years. So you don't have to worry about those next years. That's the wrong insurance plan to buy. There's that I'm gonna buy this health insurance that is gonna take care of me for many years. You don't know if that company gonna be open. You don't know if they're gonna deny your claim. Or you can take that spiritual insurance. We got witnesses here to tell you about that spiritual insurance. I'm trying to get on that plan. I'm trying to drop that plan. And when I get into my elder years, that I can have that kind of insurance. I'm working for that now. Praise Yah. Go ahead.
Verse 20, but Elohim said unto him, You fool, this night your soul shall be required of you, then whose things be which you have provided. So is he that lays up treasure for himself and is not rich toward Elohim. And he said unto his disciples, Therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life, what you shall eat, neither for the body what you shall put on.
And I just wanted to visit that in verse 21. He said, So is he that lays up treasure for himself, comma, and is not rich towards Elohim. It didn't say you couldn't have nice things for yourself. But don't let it be at the expense of not being rich towards Elohim. So this is not an attack against people who have acquired nice things. Just make sure if you acquire nice things that you are rich, that you are abundantly rich towards Elohim. Start back over for 22.
And he said unto his disciples, Therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life, what you shall eat, neither for the body, what you shall put on. The life is more than meat, and the body is more than raiment. Consider the ravens, for they neither sow nor reap, which neither have storehouse nor barn, and Elohim feeds them. How much more are you better than the fowls?
But all these creatures work. These creatures up. The early bird gets the worm. They out there getting it. They're not just sitting around, well, he's going to take care of me. All these animals work. They do what they're supposed to do to get this food and to feed their families. Go ahead.
Verse 25. And which of you with taking thought can add to his stature 1 cubit? If you then be not able to do the thing which is least, why take you thought for the rest? Consider the lilies, how they grow, they toil not, they spin not. Yet I say unto you that Shlomo in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. If them Elohim so clothed the grass, which is today in the field and tomorrow is cast into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O you of little faith? And seek not you what you shall eat or what you shall drink, neither be you of doubtful mind. For all these things do the nations of the world seek after, and your Father knows that you have need of these things.
So this is what the nations worry about. They worry about all these things because they don't know Yah. They don't know that they have a covering, and they're covered. Yah is with them too. But they don't know they got an excuse because they depending on themselves. They don't have an Elohim. They don't know Elohim. They have the Elohim that's in their mind, the Elohim that they made up, or Elohim that they heard about. We know him. So we're not supposed to worry about those things and worry more about what does Yah have for me to do here so I can inherit my kingdom, so I can get my peace. That's what our worry is supposed to be. But we turn around and we let the world convince us that we need to be worried about the things they're worried about. That's not true. Go ahead.
This is verse 31. But rather seek you the kingdom of Yahweh, and all these things shall be added unto you. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell that you have and give alms. Provide yourselves bags that wax not old, a treasure in the heavens that fails not, where no thief approaches, neither moth corrupts.
But we won't do that because we don't believe. We don't believe that the Father wants to give us that. He said this is what he wants. It's the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. This is pleasurable. He wants to give this to us, but we don't believe. And that's the issue. And we don't believe for several reasons. One, we don't believe that we're going to do what's necessary to receive. And two, we want it now. That's the issue. We want it now. Go ahead.
Verse 34. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Let your loins be girded about, and your lights burning. And you yourselves like unto men that wait for their master when he will return from the wedding, that when he comes and knocks, they may open unto him immediately. Blessed are those servants whom the master when he comes shall find watching. Verily I say unto you, that he shall gird himself and make them to sit down to meat, and will come forth and serve them. And if he shall come in the second watch, or come in the third watch, and find them so, blessed are those servants. And this know, that if the good man of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched and not have suffered his house to be broken through. Be you therefore ready also, for the Son of Man comes in an hour when you think not. Then Peter said...
So, right there. The Son of Man comes in an hour when you think not. So if you thought that was the Son of Man that came before you in this despised vessel trying to speak the word to you, then you would have listened to him. So this is not only his return, but this is when the word shows up in your life. The hour when you think not, when you are suffering, when you are going through a tribulation and anguish, and you're like, man, surely Yah's not with me right now because look at what's going on in my life. That's when he shows up. That's when he's like, hey, word, pick it up. Bing, I'm here. Keep the commandments. And you will be a glory unto Yah. Because the world is going to see, look what happened to that servant. Everybody count. Oh, he must be unrighteous. Look what's happening to him. but you hold on to that word, and then everybody gets to see the restoration process or the repentance that goes through that process, then now Yah got his glory. He come in an hour you think not. So it's not just, well, when Mashiach is returning, he coming at 3 o'clock in the morning. No, it's all those times in your life when you think he not watching, or when you don't expect him to be here. That's when he shows up. And it's also in those times when you praying to Yah and you're like, man, I done found myself so filthy. I done defiled myself so much. I'm ashamed to even pray up to you. There he is, right there. Mm-hmm. Because somebody else praying for you. 2 or 3 or more gathered, or your brother praying for you, magically, your prayer got heard. You didn't expect it because you like, surely you ain't hearing a word I got to say. Go ahead.
Luke chapter 12 and verse 41. Then Peter, Kepha, said unto him, Master, speak you this parable unto us, or even to all? And the master said, Who then is that faithful and wise steward whom his master shall make ruler over his household to give them their portion of meat in due season? Blessed is that servant whom his master, when he comes, shall find so doing. Of a truth I say unto you that he will make him ruler over all that he has.
So when he shows up in your life and he finds you keeping these commandments, whatever's going on in your life, and the word shows up and say, here, I'm here to come see about my son, see about my body. I hear he's in pain, and he's keeping those commandments. Blessed is he. Go ahead.
Say on that, brother, this right here is also, you can use it to speak like over yourself. Mm-hmm. Yourself was found doing Yahweh's will, even close to the pain of death. Mm-hmm. But yet, as he continued doing Yahweh's will, what did Pharaoh do? He put him over his whole house. Mm-hmm. So this right here is true, praise Yah. You follow Yahweh's will, even to the pain of death, Yahweh gonna bless you.
I haven't read one story in here of anybody who received the blessing from just everything was just all good. They have, who would want to watch a story like that? Because this is a story that we're living out. All this stuff has been written already. Who wants to watch a movie that, somebody wins the game, and then the next game, they win the next game. The next game, they win the next game, and they won the championship, and they won everything. They go back to back and they win again. You just keep watching. They're just winning and winning. And when are they going to have some opposition? When are they going to lose? What are they going to come back from? This is boring. What am I learning from this? What's the moral of this story? You're not going to see that. In any movie, you're not going to read about any story like that. Everybody in here who gained something in here suffered. And the Mashiach is the example of this. Through much suffering, we enter the kingdom. So understanding that some people more than others depends on what your role or what your level is. Mm-hmm. But nothing, even anything in life, anything in life have we gained? You can't even get big. You can't even grow as far as exercise without suffering and straining in some kind of point. Even exercise in itself causes you to be in pain and to push and struggle. So in understanding that, why spiritually do we feel that we're not going to go through the same thing?
Mm-hmm. Brother, it reminds me of the Proverbs verse. It was like, prove your instrument in the field, and then bring it, and when it's done, you bring it into the house. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us don't understand that that's the process we're going through now, where we're being put on the various trials and pressures and tests because outside the full wholeness of Yah's temple, because he has to we're like the potter in his hand. We're like the clay in the hands of the potter. He's molding and shaping, and we feel the pressures in certain places. And a lot of times we don't allow it to be part of the process. We fight it and we put a lot of resistance up. But once we understand that concept that he's proving his instruments outside, so that when they're refined, he can bring them into the home and be comfortable. That's why Yeshua says that servant which he finds so doing, he's going to put him in power over all that he has. It's, like you said, it's Yah's intention to bless us. And it's Yah's intention to forward us and prosper us and promote us. But there's certain bendings and stresses that we have to go through, because if you have a piece of metal and you want to make a fork, there's going to be a different type of pressures that you put compared to like a spoon,
Right.
or a knife.
In certain areas, right.
Certain areas. Verse 45, Luke chapter 12 and verse 45. And if that servant say in his heart, my master delays in coming, and shall begin to beat the manservants and maidens, and to eat and drink, and to be drunken, the master of that servant will come in a day when he looks not for him, and at an hour when he is not aware, and will cut him in sunder, and will appoint him his portion with the unbelievers. And that servant which knew his master's will, and prepared not himself, neither did according to his will, shall be beaten with many stripes. But he that knew not, and did commit things worthy of stripes, shall be beaten with few stripes. For unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall be much required. And to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask the more.
Who was committed more in this world than Yasharal? Anybody? Nobody was committed more responsibility in this world than Yasharal. So why you think we're getting beat with so many stripes? That should be obvious. Why ain't nobody else suffering like we are as a nation? We're not even talking about as a race, as a nation. You got black people have their own countries, have their own nations, their own kingdoms. We ain't got squat, nothing. Even the islands where we went to as slaves, we 80%. Look at Jamaica. We like 80. What's the percentage in Jamaica? Like 88%
That's
us.
high.
And we still don't run nothing. We getting beat with many stripes because y'all expects more from us. Go ahead. 49.
I am come to send fire on the earth, and what will I if it be already kindled? But I have a baptism to be baptized with, and how am I straitened till it be accomplished? Suppose you that I am come to give peace on the earth? I tell you no, but rather division. For from henceforth there shall be 5 in one house divided, 3 against 2, and 2 against 3. The father shall be divided against the son, and the son against the father, the mother against the daughter, and the daughter against the mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And he said also to the people, when you see a cloud rise out of the west, straightway you say, there comes a shower. And so it is. And when you see the south wind blow, you say, there will be heat. And it comes to pass. You hypocrites, you can discern the face of the sky and of the earth, but how is it that you do not discern this time? Yea, and why even of yourselves judge you not what is right? When you go with your adversary to the magistrate, as you are in the way, give diligence that you may be delivered from him, lest he hale you to the judge, and the judge deliver you to the officer, and the officer cast you into prison. I tell you, you shall not depart there till you have paid the very last mite.
So he's letting you know, be fearless, but don't be an idiot. Be diligent. Be smart about your situation. Don't go out there sitting there cussing at white folks and doing all this stuff. Be smart. Say what you need to say. Get to who you need to get to. Don't have fear in what you do, but be smart and see how the Mashiach operated. Let's go to 1 John chapter 4. 1 Yohanan chapter 4.
Know well the condition of your flocks and pay attention to your herds. He kisses the lips, gives the right answer. 1 Yohanan chapter 4. First Yohanan chapter 4 and verse 1. Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they are of Elohim, because many false prophets are gone out into the world. Hereby know you the spirit of Elohim. Every spirit that confesses that Yahshua Mashiach has come in the flesh is of Elohim. And every spirit that confesses not that Yahshua Mashiach is come in the flesh is not of Elohim. And this is that spirit of anti-Mashiach, whereof you have heard that it should come, and even now already is it in the world.
Now, as much as we want to unite with our brothers and sisters, if they are any Mashiach, they're your enemies. It is what it is. But we are taught to love our enemies. So we don't just, we trying to kill the person because they don't believe in the Mashiach. But you got to know that this is not your friend. This is an adversary. This is somebody that has the spirit of death. Now, our job is to help them move away from that death. So it doesn't mean that you just hate that person, but you can't yoke yourself to somebody who does not believe in a Mashiach. You are not that powerful. That is a powerful spirit over that person, that despite all this stuff, despite reading this book from the beginning to end, if they actually read and they don't believe in the Mashiach, there is a powerful spirit of blindness over them if they cannot see the Mashiach in this book. So don't underestimate that spirit, because you will find yourself over there with them, not believing in the Mashiach or believing some other man is the Mashiach. Go ahead.
Verse 4. You are of Elohim, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. They are of the world, therefore speak they of the world, and the world hears them. We are of Elohim. He that knows Elohim hears us. He that is not of Elohim hears not us. Hereby know we the spirit of truth and the spirit of error. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of Elohim, and everyone that loves is born of Elohim and knows Elohim. He that loves not knows not Elohim, for Yahweh is love. In this was manifested the love of Yahweh toward us, because that Yahweh sent his only begotten Son into the world, that we might live through him. Herein is love, not that we loved Yahweh, but that he loved us and sent his Son to be the propitiation for our sins. Beloved, if Yahweh so loved us, we ought also to love one another. No man has seen Yahweh at any time. If we love one another, Elohim dwells in us, and his love is perfected in us. Hereby we know that we dwell in him, and he in us, because he has given us of his Spirit. And we have seen and do testify that the Father sent the Son to be the Savior of the world. Whosoever shall confess that Yahshua is the Son of Yahweh, Elohim dwells in him, and he in Elohim. And we have known and believed and loved that Elohim has to us. Yahweh is love, and he that dwells in love dwells in Elohim, and Elohim in him.
And what is love?
To keep his commandments.
These commandments. Period. So you can't dwell in love if you're not dwelling in these commandments. You dwelling in a piece of what you think, of what you like.
Verse 17. Herein is our love made perfect, that we may have boldness in the day of judgment, because as he is, so are we in this world. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear has torment. He that fears is not made perfect in love.
And the closest that I've seen of like a perfect love is like the way that a mother in nature will defend her children. Like I've seen it on so many different levels. I've seen just a mouse, a rat or whatever, fight this snake. The snake grabbed its little baby rat and ran with, and the rat went and chased away the snake, and the snake let go of the baby, and the rat kept still going after the snake. That love that a mother has over his child. Now, father, the father would be the one that you see the animals is walking, and the lion has snatched up one of the kids, and the father's like, well, he gone. Let's go. We are all gonna die. That father is gone. The father's like, let's go. We not gonna all die tonight. But that mother's love, you see that mother will run out there and chase that lion down and do whatever and do, it's willing to die. That's like the closest thing that I can see of that perfect love where there's no fear in that mother whatsoever. And that's the example. That's the closest example where you have no fear. You're going to keep these commandments by any cost. You're going to do the right thing because you have that much love.
And brother, that word there in the Greek that's there for torment, it's G2851, and it means penal infliction. The word is koloasis, from kolazo, penal infliction, punishment, or torment. So fear has a lot to do with that punishment. So when we love Yah, we can remove ourselves from that fear of hell or fear of going to hell. You can stop. Your actions don't have to be, oh man, I'm going to be destroyed if I don't such and such. You know that Yahweh has a sympathy for you, has a pity for you. His intention is not to punish you anymore. It's more to refine you. So you can take the breath and, do what Yahshua said, take my burden upon you, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So we don't have to have that fear of judgment anymore, but more so focus on, Yah, refine me. Right. And your mind is no longer, let me try to dodge these hits the whole time, wearing yourself out and stress and straining. But instead it's recalibrated to say, let me position myself to take the chastisement. Right. Because it's not the torment chastisement. Right. It's not, I'm going to be destroyed after this. It's more of, I'm only going to get better after I go through this.
Right. And let me not fear, because that fear come with torment.
Yes.
Because the brothers feared to do the work of Yah, and they got wiped out in that wilderness and caused further affliction on their children. So that's the torment that comes along with placing fear, which is a natural, you need fear in your life. A natural feeling, and allowing that to override your spiritual compass. Go ahead.
Verse 19. We loved him because he first loved us. If a man say, I love Elohim, and hate his brother, he's a liar. For he that loves not his brother whom he has seen, how can he love Elohim whom he has not seen? And this commandment have we from him, that he who loves Elohim loves his brother also.
All right, and love is not always, hey, I'm shalom, so happy to see you. Love is like, bro, that's not right what you did. Also, love is like, listen, I know what you did wasn't right, but, if you truly have a repentant heart and you're sorry, then, I forgive you. I'm not going to hold that against you. So it's not just rebuking somebody, it's also forgiving somebody if somebody is truly sorry and wants to restore. Let's go to 2 Timothy chapter 1. So that torment, who gave us that torment? Because fear comes with torment. Who gave that to us?
The enemy.
Y'all didn't give us that. Y'all created that torment in the beginning. I mean, the adversary created that torment in the beginning when he said, well, surely when you die, you won't surely die. You're missing out. The fear of missing something. You're missing his knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. They weren't fearing that. They weren't missing nothing. They were cool. They were walking in the garden, butt naked, just fine, no problem. Here you come with adding this fear.
Because they know they fear the punishment now. They're like, oh snap, I'm naked. Oh, surely Elohim.
No fear. They just knew, hey, he said do this, we do that, just like your children. Your children don't know to be disobedient. They learn that. You tell your child, stop, they just stop. At some point they learn disobedient from somewhere. And where do you think they got that from? Same way they learned it in the garden, the adversary, the devil.
2 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 1. Saul, Paul, an apostle of Yahshua Mashiach, by the will of Elohim, according to the promise of life which is in Mashiach Yahshua. To Timothy, my dearly beloved son, grace, mercy, and peace from Yahweh the Father and Mashiach Yahshua our Master. I thank Elohim, whom I serve from my forefathers with pure conscience, that without ceasing I have remembrance of you in my prayers night and day, greatly desiring to see you being mindful of your tears, that I may be filled with joy. When I call to remembrance the unfeigned faith that is in you, which dwelt first in your grandmother Lois and your mother Eunice, and I am persuaded that in you also, where I put you in remembrance, that you stir up the gift of Elohim, which is in you by the putting on of my hands.
Now, notice he's talking about your grandmother and your mother and all this stuff, because that was the side of him that was Israel. So it's not because you're being reconciled by your mother, which Jewish people try to do. No, it's because your father was a Gentile. So we talking about all this great faith that you received from your mother, because your mother was the one who dominated the faith. Now, that's how you know she was Israel. Because our women gonna dominate.
Verse 6. Wherefore I put you in remembrance that you stir up the gift of Elohim, which is in you by the putting on of my hands. For Elohim has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind.
So Elohim did not give us this spirit of fear. So if he didn't give it to us, then that's not good. Go ahead.
And that fear there is of a different word. This one is delia. It means cowardice. So this one is a spirit of cowardice. Be not you therefore ashamed of the testimony of our master, nor of me his prisoner, but be you partaker of the afflictions of the good news according to the power of Elohim, who has saved us and called us with a holy calling, not according to our works, but according to his own purpose and grace, which was given us in Mashiach Yeshua before the world began, but is now made manifest by the appearing of our Savior Yeshua Messiah, who has abolished death and has brought life and immortality to light through the good news, whereunto I am appointed a preacher and an apostle and a teacher of the Gentiles, for the which cause I also suffer these things. Nevertheless, I am not ashamed, for I know whom I have believed, and am persuaded that he is able to keep that which I have committed unto him against that day. Hold fast the form of sound words which you have heard of me, in faith and love which is in Mashiach Yeshua. That good thing which was committed unto you keep by the Ruach Kodesh, the Holy Spirit, which dwells in us. This you know, that all they which are in Asia be turned away from me, who are Phygellus and Hermogenes. The master give mercy unto the house of Onesiphorus, for he often refreshed me and was not ashamed of my chain. But when he was in Rome, he sought me out very diligently and found me. The master grant unto him that he may find mercy of Yahweh. And in that day, and in how many things he ministered unto me at Ephesus, you know very well.
All right, let's go to Tehillim chapter 23, Psalms chapter 23.
Brother, it's interesting too that, he'll look on Onesiphorus, and then his blessing for Onesiphorus is, Master grant unto him that he may find mercy of Yahweh in that day. Not even looking so much at the other deeds of Onesiphorus that may have condemned him. A lot of people are going to be forgiven in that day. But we also know that there's a chance a lot of people are going to be, cast out and rejected in that day as well. But if we have made it imperative, if we've made it our mission to be redeemed and be saved, we should know that Yah is going to help us in that direction, so that Saul could give a blessing like, Yahweh forgive him so freely, instead of may Yahweh spare him from the fires of hell that chase every single one of us. It's more of a look. Yah's first initiative is to make sure that we're refined, so that he can bring us into his home and be used in his temple.
Psalms, Tehillim, chapter 23 and verse 1. And this is a very popular one here.
Psalms 23. Psalm of Dawid. Yahweh is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul and leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake.
All right. So again, this is one of the most popular read Psalms. But this means something to us as a nation, because this is pertaining to us. He's restored my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake, because we're named after him. This is not just something that you recite. This is something that should mean something to us. Go ahead.
Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Though you prepare a table before me, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of Yahweh forever.
And why is that? Because he restores my soul. He leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. But you have to follow that path. You got to keep those commandments. You're not just going to automatically receive those things. And this is the power that he has given us, where we don't have to rely on pure mercy like the other nations. We can go out there and say, listen, I know I'm going to need mercy to make it into this kingdom. But at least I've been given the instructions how to show you how bad I want to receive this mercy. I would rather be in that position rather than just being a spiritual lotto where I got to pick a number and I make it. Did I make it or I don't make it? Mm-hmm. Let's move on. Let's go to Tehillim chapter 3. Let's go back a few chapters. Tehillim, Psalms chapter 3. It's another short one.
Yahweh, how are they increased that trouble me? Many are they that rise up against me. Many there be which say of my soul, there is no help for him in Elohim, Selah. But you, O Yahweh, are a shield for me, my glory, and the lifter up of my head. I cried unto Yahweh with my voice, and he heard me out of his holy hill, Selah. I laid me down and slept, I awaked, for Yahweh sustained me. I will not be afraid of 10,000s of people that have set themselves against me round about.
So I will not be afraid of 10,000s of people that have set themselves against me round about. He didn't have that fear. This is why they got the women singing that song about him. David, David, tens of thousands. Because the spirit could be used for him to do Yah's business. Because he wasn't afraid. Did he not have some level of fear in his heart? You best believe if you standing there's tens of, I don't care who you are. You're going to have that regard for your body. Unless something is wrong with you. Where something is not connected. You just psycho.
Yeah, you're crazy.
But when he's saying I would not fear, I'm not going to let that fear control me. If Yahweh said I need to go this direction and there's tens of thousands of people, Yahweh going to open up that thing for me. Just like the tens of thousands of gallons of water that he spread apart so we can go right through it. Go ahead.
Verse 7. Arise, O Yahweh, save me, O my Elohim, for you have smitten all my enemies upon the cheekbone. You have broken the teeth of the wicked. Salvation belongs unto Yahweh. Your blessing is upon your people. Selah.
All right. Let's go read that. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 17, and we're going to see how a righteous king operates. You know, we see the term when we call each other, a lot of the black conscious and, the Pan-Africanism, like king, call each other kings and queens. Well, if you're going to be a king, act like a king. Mm-hmm. A king going to stand up for his nation. A king goes to war. That's why when Yahshua came originally, he came as the sacrifice. He wasn't coming as the king, because when the king comes, he's coming to do sacrifice and war, because he's not only a king. King really don't do sacrifices, but he's a God, king, high priest. So you see David here, before he's even made the king, he's operating in that manner. He's fighting the battles of Yahshua. So where you have the spirit of fear, where all these so-called warriors and mighty men and this tall king that was head shoulders above everybody afraid. But here you go, the little ruddy boy, the sheep guy. He's ready to do that business because he understands that this person is coming against Yahshua. He's coming against Yahweh. 1 Samuel chapter 17. Start this at verse 1.
Now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and were gathered together at Shoko, which belongs to Yehudah, and pitched between Soko and Azekah in Ephes Damim. And Saul And the men of Yasharal were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Elah and set the battle in array against the Philistines. And the Philistines stood on a mountain on the one side, and Yasharal stood on the mountain on the other side, and there was a valley between them. And there went out a champion of the camp of the Philistines named Goliath, and Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. And he had a helmet of brass upon his head, and was armed with a coat of mail, and with the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass. And he had greaves of brass upon his legs, and a target of brass between his shoulders. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his head weighed 600 shekels of iron, and one bearing a shield that went before him. So he was very intimidating to look at.
It was a big dude, man. It was a real big dude. Remember, these are Philistines. So these are the people that are in that area that are large in stature. Not only large in stature, large in number. That was their land. It wasn't their land, but that's where they dwelled.
He had brass on his head, coat of mail, iron coat on, staff 5,000 shekels of whole brass, greaves of brass upon his legs, and then brass between his shoulders. He was clad in metal.
Spear, the head of his spear weighed 600 shekels of iron. That's just the spear.
Yeah, that's 15 pounds.
So he came clad. Boom, boom, all that noise you hear, he's trudging toward. I mean, of course, that would strike fear in people, especially the visual of it. Like, yo, this man, where am I going to hit him at?
If you think you fighting him, that's going to strike a lot of fear in you, because you know that you're not equipped to fight that dude.
And you don't know where to strike. Everywhere he got metal and stuff on him. Verse 8, and he stood and cried unto the armies of Yasharal and said unto them, why are you come out to set your battle in array? Am not I a Philistine, and you servants to Saul? Choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me. If he be able to fight with me and to kill me, then we will be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then shall you be our servants and serve us.
And who does Yasharal serve?
Serve Yah.
We don't serve people. We serve Yah. That's who we serve. We serve our nation, and we serve the world as far as in our servitude to Yah. But we're not servants. That's a punishment. Go ahead.
And it's a battle to the death too. So not only is he clad in all his armor,
doom, doom, doom,
he's saying somebody gonna die tonight.
Pretty much.
The Philistine said, I defy the armies of Yasharal this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. When Saul and all Yasharal heard those words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. Now Dawid was the son of that Ephrathite of Bethlehem Yehudah, whose name was Yesse. And he had 8 sons. And the man went among the men for an old man in the days of Saul. And the 3 eldest sons of Yesse went and followed Saul to the battle. And the names of his 3 sons that went to the battle were Eliab, the firstborn, and next to him Aminadab, and the third Shammah. And Dawid was the youngest, and the 3 eldest followed Saul. But Dawid went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. And the Philistine drew near morning and evening, and presented himself 40 days. And Yesse said unto Dawid his son, take now for your brethren an ephah of this parched corn, and these 10 loaves, and run to the camp to your brethren, and carry these 10 cheeses unto the captain of their 1,000, and look how your brethren fare, and take their pledge. Now Saul and they and all the men of Yasharal were in the valley of Elah, fighting with the Philistines. And Dawid rose up early in the morning, and left the sheep with a keeper, and took and went as Yesse had commanded him, and came to the trench as the host was going forth to the fight, and shouted for the battle. For Yasharal and the Philistines had put the battle in array, army against army. And Dawid left his carriage in the hand of the keeper of the carriage, and ran into the army, and came and saluted his brethren, and talked. And as he talked with them, behold, there came up the champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath, by name, out of the armies of the Philistines, and spoke according to the same words, and Dawid heard them.
So Dawid walked up, his older brothers are there, and his older brothers just got sunned, basically. So they're embarrassed. Because at home, they big and bad at home. They big and bad to their baby brother. Go ahead.
Verse 24, and all the men of Yasharal, when they saw the man, fled from him and were sore afraid.
So he's seeing his brothers, they're supposed to be the big bad warriors that everybody look up to, running and cowering like little girls. Go ahead.
Because you swing that spear and hit somebody, choo, nobody want to get hit by it. It's very intimidating looking.
You know that thing's woof, woof, when that thing being... Go ahead.
Verse 25, and the men of Yasharal said, have you seen this man that is come up? Surely to defy Yasharal is he come up. And it shall be that the man who kills him, the king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Yasharal. Free?
Why do you need to be free to begin with? Oh, that's right. Samuel said what he was going to do. What kind of king he was going to have that was going to put y'all in taxes and have to pay. Go ahead.
All these exactments. And Dawid spoke to the men that stood by him, saying, what shall be done to the man that kills this Philistine and takes away the reproach from Yasharal? For who is that uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living Elohim? And the people answered him after this manner, saying, so shall it be done to the man that kills him. And Eliab, his eldest brother, heard when he spoke unto the men. And Eliab's anger was kindled against Dawid, and said, why came you down here? And with whom have you left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know your pride and the naughtiness of your heart, for you are come down that you might see the battle. And Dawid said, what have I now done? Is there not a cause?
Yeah, the cause is I'm embarrassed because I just got sunned in front of the baby of the house. I just finished running from Goliath, and now you come up here, and now I'm embarrassed in front of you. So I'm gonna take it out on you.
Yeah, everybody frustrated right now. There's sweat on their forehead, and Dawid asking all these questions. Man, what you doing here, man?
Right.
Verse 30, and he turned from him toward another and spoke after the same manner. And the people answered him again after this former manner. And when the words were heard which Dawid spoke, they rehearsed them before Saul, and he sent for him. And Dawid said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Your servant will go and fight with the Philistine. And Saul said unto Dawid, you are not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for you are but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. And Dawid said unto Saul, your servant has kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. And I went out after him and smote him and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard and smote him and slew him. And your servant slew both the lion and the bear. And this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he has defied the armies of the living Elohim. And Dawid said, moreover, Yahweh that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto Dawid, go, and Yahweh be with you. And Saul armed Dawid with his armor. You know, he sounded like just young and green and zealous. Saul like, all right, fine, go ahead. Let's see what shall become of you.
Here's the thing on that, brother. Say that.
Just young and optimistic.
I understand it makes sense what you just said, but yet, look at the situation. I mean, Goliath had set the groundwork here, like, hey, send somebody against me, your finest champion. He kills me, will be your servants. I kill him, all y'all will be my servants. So then you know that's Yahweh's voice that's really speaking in this. This is his spirit. Because the king says, okay, go on and fight.
Right.
Yet, wait a minute, you realize what he's fighting for?
What he's fighting for. You putting, it's like you taking the little retarded kid to make the last 3-point shot. Like, we if you don't make this thing, we gonna lose.
So that's Yah's spirit right there.
On both parts. That's a good point.
Verse 37.
Yeah.
And so I'll let him go. Okay, verse 37. Dawid said, moreover, Yahweh delivered me out of the paw of the lion, out of the paw of the bear. He will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto Dawid, go, and Yahweh be with you. Verse 38. This is 1 Samuel chapter 17 and verse 38. And Saul armed David with his armor, and he put a helmet of brass upon his head. Also he armed him with a coat of mail. And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go, for he had not proved it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off him. And he took his staff in his hand, and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and put them in the shepherd's bag, which he had, even in a scrip. And his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. And the Philistine came on and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. And the Philistine looked about and saw David, and disdained him, for he was but a youth, and ruddy, and of a fair countenance. And the Philistine said unto David, Am I a dog, that you come to me with staves? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. And the Philistine said unto David, Come to me, and I will give your flesh unto the fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the field. Then said David to the Philistine, You come to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a shield, but I come to you in the name of Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of armies of Yasharal, whom you have defied. This day will Yahweh deliver you into my hand, and I will smite you, and take your head from off you, and will give the carcass of the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air, and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is an Elohim in Yasharal.
So the thing that you would have done to me is going to happen to you. That's how the law works. Go ahead.
And all this assembly shall know that Yahweh saves not with sword and spear, for the battle is Yahweh's, and he will give you into our hands.
Does not Yahweh say that is he not a man of war? Go ahead.
And it came to pass, when the Philistine arose and came and drew near to meet David, that David hasted and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag, and took there a stone, and slang it, and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sank into his forehead, and he fell upon his face toward the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine, and slew him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. Therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine, and took his sword, and drew it out of the sheath thereof, and slew him, and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. And the men of Yasharal and of Yehudah arose and shouted, and pursued the Philistines until you come to the valley unto the gates of Ekron. And the wounded of the Philistines fell down by the way to Sharaim, even unto Gath, and unto Ekron. And the children of Yasharal returned from chasing after the Philistines, and they spoiled their tents. And David took the head of the Philistine, and brought it to Jerusalem, but he put his armor in his tent. And when Saul saw David go forth against the Philistine, he said unto Abner, the captain of the host, Abner, whose son is this youth? And Abner said, As your soul lives, O king, I cannot tell. And the king said, Inquire you whose son the stripling is. And as David returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul with the head of the Philistine in his hand. And Saul said unto him, Whose son are you, you young man? And David answered, I am the son of your servant Yesse, the Bethlehemite.
All right. So that's all we're going to do today. You want to keep that in mind, that this battle is not ours. We are going to be put in situations where we're against Goliaths. And the first Goliath we got to deal with is that flesh. That flesh that's within us. That's the Goliath. That's the big, innumerable monster that we have to go against, that's constantly winning these battles. That if we can kill that flesh, then that flesh is going to be prisoner to us, to our spirit. So we have to understand that is the greatest battle that we have to deal with. And then once we're able to conquer that,
unmuted.
Once we're able to conquer that, then we can deal with these other battles that we have before us. So a lot of these servants went through these huge, innumerable battles, But it's for us to gain that same concept that if this is Yahweh's war and they're coming against Yah, we can hold fast to these commandments and do the right thing and not allow the fear to overtake us. So that's all we're going to do today. Any last questions or comments before we close in prayer? All right. All brothers remove their head coverings. All sisters pray with their heads covered. I don't know why it muted. It just muted, but I guess leave it on mute. Okay. This phone's still on? Yeah. Elder Mikael, can you go ahead and close us out in prayer?
Heavenly Father, Yahweh, most holy and true covenant Elohim, Abba Yishak Yaakov, thank you for the Yahweh for allowing us, Father, to be here for the Yahweh, to worship your holy and mighty name for the Yahweh, to publish your name for the Yahweh, to hear your word, Father, to be introduced into our hearts for the Yahweh, that we may eat, Father, your holy mighty word, Father, that we may be a part of us for the Yahweh, that we may do your will, not just hear your will for the Yahweh. Give you thanks and praise for Yahweh, for these comparisons, for in your script for Yahweh. So let us know for Yahweh that you, for Yahweh, have servants that will serve you for Yahweh. And you will put your spirit upon them for Yahweh, to have no fear for to fight the enemy for Yahweh, to give you your mighty glory for Yahweh. Give you thanks in Yeshua's holy and mighty name for Yahweh. And help us for Yahweh to understand for Yahweh the strength for Yahweh that you hold for in our hearts for Yahweh. To let it usher forth for the Yahweh to give you glory. Praise you for the in Yeshua's holy and mighty name. And thank you for the Yahweh in Yeshua's